let's explore one of the openings that I recommended in my opening repertoire DVDs and tapes, accelerated Draken. But I'm going to put now completely new look, completely new lines, and new analysis of it, which are absolutely magnificent. And I think they refute the modern assumption, well, modern evaluation, latest evaluation on this opening and these variations. Well, let's look at it. Let me show you what I mean by that. Let's start with e4, c5, knight f3, g6, d4, c takes d, knight takes d4, knight c6, knight c3, bishop g7, bishop e3, knight f6, and bishop c4. Okay, here what we're trying to do, we're trying to prevent white from playing bishop b3, f3, queen d2, and castling queen side, which will give us Richter-Rauser variation, which is very well explored, and up to now it's considered as white has an advantage. So what we did play in this variation is queen a5 move. Queen a5 move is the one way to prevent white from castling queen side. For example, white cannot play f3 because of the queen b4, and variations I showed before are definitely favorable for white, for black. But queen a5 is one way to play, and it's okay to play for black. But only problem with this move, but black does not get a bad position, but if white castles, here is the only problem, and then white goes bishop b3 or even knight b3. If white goes bishop b3 and after d6 f3, it's very, very difficult for black to get active play. So, which does not mean white has something real dangerous attack coming or something, but this is position that is balanced position, but it's very hard to make constructive plan for black as for white. Now, isn't it, it's okay to play again. I'm just saying that this is okay to play. I do for black, but what I want to do now, I want to go through the variation that is in the theory for many, many, many years was regarded as not satisfactory for black. Well, this is castle, and here white, we know white wants to castle queen side, and therefore they have to play queen d2 castling. But queen d2 right away, they will run into knight g4, so they have to prepare it. They cannot play f3 right away. f3 is bad move because of the queen b6, and black has a double threat of queen takes b2, winning a pawn, and knight takes e4, winning a pawn. White does not have good way to play against it. So the correct move order for white, if they want to castle queenside, is bishop b3. And now the modern theory suggests d6, f3, and then white plays queen d2 and castles long. But what we want to do, we'll play a5. Now this is very interesting move. Black wants to start active play in the center and blow up white center before white arranges castling queen side. a4, a5 is very strong move and very interesting move that was unjustly turned down as a credible variation. It was not, does not have good reputation. However, I think it's not right. Well, after a5, this move was very well analyzed by one of my students, Eugene Perelstein, the international master and very strong player. And we did some work in there, and we came to definite conclusion that black is doing fine. After a5, there is makes no sense for white to play a4, because that's what black wants. Black wants to get the b4 square for knight. Then black is going to go d5 anyway, and we're going to get variations very close to the ones we will look just in a second. After a5, white plays f3. You see, black has a threat now. The threat is a4, and if bishop takes on a4, knight takes e4. You see, the c3 knight is overloaded. It has to take knight on e4, and also it protects the bishop on a4. Also, white has to stop knight g4, so all-purpose move seems like make a lot of sense. f3, and now black goes d5. And here, white has two continuations. And they are bishop takes d5, which is the main continuation, and also e takes d. Now let's take a look what happens after white plays e takes d. On e takes d, knight to b4. Now black simply wants to get their pawn back on d5, and they will be at least fine. They may even have, after that, some advantage. So knight d to e2. White protects the pawn and prepares now castling short, or maybe even queen d2. They are one move away from full happiness. If they castle, they will have extra pawn for no compensation. And black goes a4. Here, white has two ways to capture the a pawn. Let's look at them. First, bishop takes a4, and knight from f takes to d5. Now, white's bishop on e3 is hanging. White practically has one move and one move only, and this is bishop f2. Now let's see why. If white plays knight takes d5, then after knight takes d5, you can see that both white bishops are hanging and white's losing. If white plays bishop d4, then they are facing serious problem after bishop takes d4, and white is simply lost, because if queen takes d4, you see the knight takes c2 pawn winning the queen, only bishop is stopping it. So we play simply rook takes a4, and we win the game easily. However, if white plays knight takes d4, then the same combination works. Knight to e3, same theme. Queen d2 and queen takes d4, followed by knight takes c2. Either knight can take on c2, and white can resign. So for this reason, we can conclude that move bishop f2 is absolutely forced. But now, after bishop f2, black has a very good position, because knight takes c3, knight takes c3, and queen takes d1. This position, I can say it's much better for black. White has captured with the king, because now, you see, if rook is capturing on d1, then we can simply play knight takes a2. Again, the problem of the c3 knight that protects the bishop and pawn on a2. And if king takes on d1, then we can even play bishop takes c3, bc, and rook takes a4, having very good position, at least equal. But again, we don't have to get our pawn back right away. We can even play rook d8 check first, and on king c1, for example, go bishop h6 check and maybe bishop f5. Now, we have tremendous advantage in development. We are threatening rook d2, we are threatening rook takes a4, followed by bishop takes c2 checkmate. So white is in trouble. So that's not the way to play for white. So that's why this variation is not good. This is in case white plays bishop takes a4. Well, here is the position. Here is we played a4, and if bishop takes a4, just the variation that I just mentioned gives black great position. Now, only other option they will have is like knight takes a4. And after knight takes a4, it's still trouble for black, for white. Knight f takes d5. Now bishop, well, after bishop d4 is not good, and so is bishop f2. Now let's look at them. Let's look at it. On bishop d4, bishop takes d4. Well, bishop is on c8. Bishop takes d4. Queen takes d4. If knight takes d4 loses right away, because knight e3, which we just mentioned a little while ago, queen d2 and queen takes d4, winning winning a piece. And if queen takes d4, then well, queen takes d4 is a better try for white than bishop f5. And after bishop f5, c2 pawn is very hard to defend. Black wants simply to play bishop takes c2. And it's very interesting. After queen d2, this is amazing shot. That's very, very important shot. Bishop takes c2, bishop takes c2, and knight e3. Interesting to mention that white has an extra piece, but they are totally lost. They can almost resign right away. Well, here's the way it's going to work. If bishop moves, bishop is hanging. If white plays queen takes queen, then we play knight takes c2 check. King moves anywhere, rook takes queen, and you see white's rook is hanging, white's knight is hanging, game is over. On the other hand, black is threatening knight takes c2 with an instant win. And if bishop goes to b3, then knight d3 is an absolute killer. It's very interesting and beautiful position where two knights are checkmating white's king. And white is forced to take the knight, and queen takes queen, decisive material advantage, also unacceptable for white. And this is actually a spectacular position and very effective position where white has extra material, extra bishop, and just two knights absolutely demolishing white's position. white is totally lost. Now, those are interesting variations. They're just beginning of reinstating the reputation of the A5 variation. Here is the A5. Here is the position where this A5 variation starts. A5 variation starts. And as I mentioned, F3 is the best move in this position. It practically only move that makes sense. And now after D5, we just mentioned pawn takes pawn. Now, bishop takes pawn is the second way to play. There we are in a critical position after D5. And now we're just going to look at continuation, bishop takes D5. Then black must play knight takes D5. And two continuations for white, e takes D and knight takes D5. Let's look at them. After knight takes D5, black has very strong move F5. Now let's talk about this position. This position, white wants to castle into moves. White has an extra pawn. Black's idea is to open the position as soon as possible to maintain some initiative before white consolidates. And there are several ways white can play this position. Well, first let's look at C3. If white plays C3, then simply F takes E. And now if white plays F takes E, well, knight takes C6, I gotta tell you right away that is not gonna do anything for white because black plays BC, knight to B6, rook to B8, and if queen takes D8, rook takes D8, and white gets their extra pawn, but after bishop A6, you see knight is a little bit cut off, and next move bishop D3. I think black is significantly better. So this variation does not give white any advantage. So after F5 and C3, black plays F takes E. This is position. F takes E, and simply E6. Now when white goes knight F4, if nothing else, black can easily equalize at least after knight takes D4, pawn takes D4, and simply bishop takes D4. You can tell that after black recaptures the knight on F4, queen takes D4, queen takes D4, bishop takes D4, and rook takes F4, white has nothing, or maybe even less than nothing. Maybe black has something here. Well, this is very satisfactory position for white. And what else can black do? What else can white do? There is one other thing white can do in this position after knight takes D5, F5, to play immediately knight takes C6, BC, and knight B6. But then again, I don't think we have any problem if we go rook B8. After F5, rook B8, now B2 pawn is hanging, and black has enough play. I think black is at least okay here. There are some games being played with this variation, and they've been proven as satisfactory variation for black. So here is the highlight on this. So if bishop takes D5, knight takes D5, and knight takes D5, then after playing f5, black is doing fine. They are opening the center, and the white has some difficulties to consolidate their position. Well, that's about it in this variation. So let's go back to the critical position. Knight takes d5 and e takes d. Now black plays knight b4, and they are threatening to play knight takes d5. And after knight b4, now white has to play, this is the position, we just went knight b4, white has to play knight e2, and black is trying to put more pressure on e6, and the way to do it is to go e6. Now white has choices. They have to make up their mind whether they want to hang on to an extra pawn by taking on e6, or they want to give up an extra pawn and play a3. Black is okay in both cases. Well, let's look at it. If white plays d takes e, then after bishop takes e6, and obviously they cannot keep an extra pawn if they castle, because black is going to play queen takes d1 followed by knight takes c2. So in order to keep an extra pawn, white has to play a3, and then after knight to d5, knight takes d5, bishop takes d5. You see now b2 pawn is hanging, and white makes an attempt to maintain an extra pawn. That's what they go there for. Bishop d4, but they never make it to the castling, because now we go rook to e8, and when white plays bishop takes g7, after bishop c4, they are facing very serious problems. Well, after queen takes d8, rook takes d8, you see that two minor pieces are hanging, and if rook comes on e2 with the check, white is going to be totally lost. And if they castle, then king takes g7, and you see the knight on e2 is pinned. White is in trouble. So maintaining an extra pawn in the critical position we just looked after black played e6 is not possible. So there we go with this position. They cannot maintain an extra pawn, and we just played e6. So what white should do is they should play a3, knight takes d5, knight takes d5, ed, and bishop d4. Now, how do we play this position for black? And are we doing okay? Yes, we are. We definitely don't want to exchange dark square bishops. We have to play bishop h6. And after white castles, we go rook e8. Black has active two bishops, which totally compensates white's their weak pawn on d5 and white's outpost on d4. Knight on e2 doesn't have good future. So if white plays bishop f2 trying to put the knight on d4, then black can go b6 and bishop a6, or maybe even bishop f5 and queen d7. Position is approximately equal, and I think in this variation that's the best white can do.
This is Grandmaster Damian Lemos here for OnlineChessLessons.net. First of all, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you would like to receive more free chess videos from us, you can just click the subscribe button below. I would also highly recommend signing up for my free mail course the 10 Grandmaster Secrets to Dominate Chess. During this exclusive course from onlinechesslessons.net, I'll share with you my own Grandmaster shortcuts to effective attacking, defending, and growth hacks to improving your chess without complicated books or memorization. So sign up by clicking the sidebar on the right, and I know you won't be disappointed. Once more, this is Damien for onlinechesslessons.net, and I'll see you in my videos. Thank you.